Hi folks, I'm Jesse Elaine, and today we're going to talk a little bit about playing in odd time signatures where you have two measures next to each other that have different time signatures. And this happens especially in modern music where you might have a measure of 7, then you might have a measure of 6 right after it, and then it goes back to 7, 6, 7, 6. Almost like you have a measure of 13, but it's really not that way because we're separating measures into rhythmic patterns where there are 7 beats and then a rhythmic pattern where there's 6 beats. So we'll actually write them differently in the score when we're writing these things out. So time signature, odd or regular time signature, just has to do with the amount of notes or beats per measure and the type of note that receives the beat. So in this case, I'm calling this a measure of 7/4 and a measure of 6/4. The reason why I'm thinking of that is because I like to count it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I like to use that as the reference point, calling it a quarter note. You could do something in 7/8 and then 6/8 if you preferred to use an eighth note as the beat. It really all comes down to the way it's written and the way that it's counted. So in this example, I'm going to ask that you've already played some tunes that are in odd times that don't change. Like maybe you've played Take 5 and are comfortable in 5/4. Maybe played something in 7, played something, obviously some compound meter things like 6/8, 9/8, 12/8. Things that don't change. But this one is going to change. So this is why I'm showing you this, so you can have a good idea of what it feels like when things change from measure to measure. You end up getting a feel for it. So what we're going to look at is first our chords. We got a C6 chord. So we're going to be on the 6th string. There's a C. 4th string we get an A on the 7th fret. We've got an E on the 9th fret of the 3rd string. And then we've got a G on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. Then we're going to come down and we're going to make this a C6/9 by taking away the pinky. So in this one we're going to have to use our first finger kind of barred there, right? And then we're going to remove the second finger and come down with the thumb to that B. This makes it a G add 9 over B. So you get C6, C6/9, and then G add 9 over B. Take that same exact progression, move it down, whole step. So here's the rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another important thing I want to show you, now that you have the feel for that, and you can rewind it and play it back if it feels uncomfortable, as it probably will. I'm going to show you that it's important to use a metronome where you don't have an accent, because if you try to do this, unless you have a really sophisticated metronome, if so, excellent, and use that. My metronome does not allow me to do a measure of 7, a measure of 6. Repeating back and forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a metronome where we don't have an accented beat. A lot of metronomes will have a more accented click on beat number 1 of a new bar starting, but my metronome, the Korg MA30, which as you can see has been used for many years, excellent metronome, highly recommend it. I'm just going to set it to 0 as the beat count, and what that does is that actually allows me to not have an accented beat. So it's basically up to me to choose my count, So I'm using 180 beats per minute, and I'm going to play this progression for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's the general idea. Now, when you're playing in a group, you need to have a drummer who is really good and can play like that, who can play different measures, regardless of the way they count it. If they want to count it as 13, they can, but basically you'd want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Everybody's feeling that there's a measure of 7 followed by a measure of 6. The thing I played after that, that's just something else that would still be changing meter or changing time signature at each measure. But experiment with those ideas. That's an important thing to have fun with. That's just something I made up. You can make up your own things like that, and there are plenty of tunes out there that do change time signatures. And honestly, I think that this is something that we can use in a subtle way and still have it be effective. It doesn't have to be something like, oh boy, that sounds like it's in an odd time. I can't tap my foot to it. I can't dance to it. I can't, enjoy it. You don't want it to be like that. And I don't think that time signatures need to be that blatant. Sometimes you can do that if that's what you're going for. But in this case, I think we're more looking towards music, making music that we don't have to be so obvious with our time signatures. And I think something like that, like the example we showed here, it's not so far out where it's not enjoyable to the average listener of instrumental music. I don't think that it's too strange sounding or feeling, but that's subjective, and that's my opinion. So I would recommend playing with things like that. You can do other combinations of strumming chords, bass note before the rest of the chord, and then obviously arpeggiating. You can do that too. That makes things a lot more interesting. You can just practice something like this, playing an arpeggiated chord, playing 7 notes in a row, thinking of each note as your beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Five, six, seven, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See how I did that? That's just 6, 7. That's on 6 and 7. I'm sliding that B flat 6 up to a B6 and then hitting that C6 to round it all out again. And you can have fun with odd time signatures. You have to play with them. You have to start slow and think small at first, and then you'll expand to be able to actually improvise within these odd time signatures. And it's just another way to expand our ability to improvise in ways that we haven't maybe thought of before, and able to do things that might bring a new sound and a new just overall atmosphere to the music. So have fun with those ideas. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you next time.